we're developing a learning landscape in the Netherlands in a certain region, and therefore something else was needed in the first as a kind of platform where we can develop this landscape on, and that's the story of Talent Campus. So I will introduce myself first, and then Richard will introduce himself, and then we go through this story and our experience in the last few years of developing open badges in the region where we live and work. My name is Martijn Bos. I'm a learning designer and consultant in knowledge management, and I advise on implementation on open badge projects in the Netherlands. I've met Richard, I think, in 2016 or so, and when we met, he was director of the Talent Campus. Richard, could you tell something about yourself?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Richard van Ommen. I'm director of the Talent Campus. I had education as a school principal, but last 5 years I'm self-employment and I'm director of Talent Campus. Talent Campus.
If you go back for Talent Campus.
You want to talk about Talent Campus now?
Yeah. So a short introduction of the Talent Campus.
Well, Talent Campus is a cooperation between the government, education, and the businesses. And we're in the center of that as an independent organization to provide some movement between these three kinds. We call it a Triple Helix in the Netherlands. I don't know if it is elsewhere else also called, but I'm in the center of it, and I'm trying to get all the interests of both three of them to combine and to do some development with it.
Okay, we go deeper on connecting the Triple Helix in a few sheets. But first, the introduction of what's the area we live in. Well, we live in Oss. It's not Oss from the Wizard of Oz, but it's Oss with double S. It's in the southeast of the Netherlands. So you can see the map where this area is. We have it's a small city, about 91,000 residents, mainly manufacturing industry, chemical industry, pharmaceutical industry. The problem is we don't have a university. We don't have a university in about 20 minutes from here. So students take the train and go study somewhere else. So the main threats we have is that the train station is our biggest threat, because the young people are leaving the city, leaving to study somewhere else, live there, and it's hard to get them back to this area. So we're not afraid of old people, but aging as well is one of our main problems. A lot of young people leave the area and mostly never come back because it's more interesting to live in bigger cities. And that's a problem all over the world, I think. And also in our region where we live. So what's the Triple Helix where Richard just talked about? Richard, can you tell us something about the connection in this Triple Helix?
Yeah, first when we started, we have to find out a way to cooperate to each other because there are so different interests between what the government wants, what the businesses wants, and how education operates in that Triple Helix. We are in the center of it, and we connect with almost all businesses and schools in the region, 4 of them who wants to cooperate with them. We have 3,600 companies in our region, so we cannot cooperate with everybody, but we connect most of them, 400-500 at least. What is important to develop a thing as open badges is that we can do it from an independent way. We're not bounded from one of those 3. We're doing things that we think is good for talent to develop. What is mostly important that you become to be the good guy to connect, because when they're not reaching you for interest, you can't do anything. And what we see right now is we're in the center of an integrated cooperation between all those three from the Triple Helix. In 2016 or 17, we are cooperating with a project. We call it BIM5, and BIM is Business Intelligence Modeling in the building industry, and we try to connect schools to each other so students will study further on. And in one of those projects, we see that when you want to recognize talent and you want to certificate them, open badges is a possibility to provide talent, because that's our main goal, how to retain young talent within the region. And we think that if you can provide youngsters with certificates of businesses and education in your own region, it was more likely that they stay in the region. In 2018, we stimulated the development of open badges. We've seen and heard it from it all over the world, and we thought, hey, this can be something good for in the Netherlands. And that's where we started to host the open badge. We call them badgeable. It's not only for the region of Oss, but it's also for other parties to cooperate. And we see now that there's a coming interest to cooperate with us.
In the Talent Campus, as you see on the sheet, board members are the mayor, CEOs of local industries, and school management. So everybody is on this project. So that's why it's very powerful and gets things done. If you go into the learning landscape, what did we need, or what did we have to do to start with a learning landscape? Well, first of all, we needed a sustainable connection with the three parties. We had the Triple Helix parties. That was provided by the Talent Campus. Second one was funding. The funding was done also from this BIM5 project and Talent Campus as well. They both invested in these in techniques and in, of course, man hours to implement all this. The third one was technology. So we came in contact with Open Badge Factory, and that was the platform which, after some experimenting with some other platforms, this was the software for us. Mainly because, well, it has a nice way of working in it and developing badges and publishing badges, but also because it's GDPR compliant. In Europe, we have, and in the Netherlands, we have a lot of strict rules about privacy, and that was one of the main goals, to search for a party which is already provided this GDPR way of working. Of course, the last one was urgency. We needed skilled employees, and that was what we heard of the industries. There's a real shortage everywhere in the Netherlands of skilled people. So that were the ingredients for the learning landscape. So there was this story of there were two stories where we heard while we were developing this program. And one of the stories was from the CEO of Saga Constructions. And Saga Constructions is a 3D concrete printing company. This company is printing concrete buildings all over the world. Mainly in the Middle East, but also in Japan and Spain. So the CEO told us he couldn't find skilled students or personnel. One of the main problems was that these students were mainly developed in 2D drawing and designing, but not in 3D. This is because the traditional building industry is mostly working from 2D AutoCAD and other kinds of programs, so it needed some change in education and change in thinking. The other side of the story, so what we met is, what we heard is people, you needed people who are adaptive to change, can think in 3D, support agile working methods, and are non-traditional building, or not thinking in traditional building. So, on the other hand, we heard a story about this is a guy called Tom, and Tom is a student, 14 years old, secondary vocational education. He likes designing. He thinks in 2D and 3D, learns a lot from YouTube, and dreams of building futuristic structures. Wants to be an architect once he's wants to be an architect when he's old enough to go to the university. So what we thought about is, well, how can we connect these two questions? So we started with a badge that is called a 3D concrete printing operator. And this badge is used by Saga Constructions to show that people are skilled to operate and print 3D concrete buildings. When we think back, okay, what's needed then for 3D concrete the whole 3D concrete printing, and there's a basis, and that's called a Rhino basic 3D designing. And all the way back, then maybe you can also make that junction to 3D concrete printing, but you also could go for the Revit Architecture Certified Professional badge. And this is all on university level. But when we go back to the Secondary Vocational Education Institute, which is located in our region, that's called ROC de Leijgraaf. There you see, on that level, we can develop a Revit Architect Certified User in Autodesk. And before that, you can go to Revit Basics. All these badges are milestone in this program of a landscape, which is just one line of this in this landscape of developing these skills from 14 years old, 12 years old, cross sector. So there's no, these are 3 or 4 parties in this landscape we have. So we started with hand drawing. That's the one we're developing right now. Then after that, they go to Tinkercad. That's a kind of more playful way of learning 3D. Then they go to SketchUp, and then after that, they go to SketchUp Professional. At the moment, we're trying to get the official SketchUp and AutoCAD badges. They issue badges already, and we try to get them to issue or to to align our badges or the badges from these two educational institutes and align them with Autodesk themselves. So if that's possible, there's more civil value to the badge. Okay, so So what we've done right now is this program is going to be one line, a small, almost niche market, but it's also it's needed to get all these parties together. And what we did is we facilitated the working together in one project, in one program, to get all these badges done, to make these badges all milestones in this line, and get everybody aligned to accept and be happy with the metadata behind all these badges. So if Saga Constructions thinks, okay, I need someone who's capable of maybe could be learning Rhino basics, that we have to line up the metadata behind the badges together, so we're certain that we ask of the right skills for these students. So I think this is just an example of how these lines are developing. Another line we are just starting with is a line of another kind of education where kids don't earn diplomas, but they have kind of a set of certifications. And we're exploring at the moment the possibilities to develop badges for that. So they can earn a set of badges which have a civil value for them, and that's the way they can prove they can get a job at one of those connected partners at the moment. So this is in short a line where we're working on as an example. We have some issues or some things we can build on at the moment, and it's very important to give some attention. One of the main things is building trust and unite, and not only unite within our network, but also unite with other badge initiatives, because we think it's important to connect with other initiatives, because it's getting more and more powerful, I think, working with badges. But as long as we are operating in regions alone, I think that's losing a bit of the power, because we can maybe develop a kind of a national kind of way to work with badges. That's going to be maybe in the future. It's getting more attention in the future, but it's a thing where we all think about right now when we're developing these kind of programs. Another very important thing is to keep issuers engaged. If issuers don't see the value of badges, or don't give the right amount of attention to badges, then it's probably going to be a short program where a lot of energy is in when it starts, but after a while, it's getting not the attention, and it slowly starts to die. We see that, for example, with some schools where we started badges and now they have to pick it up themselves. And that's going to be, that's asking for a lot of energy. And so therefore you have to build a kind of a team, a badge team, badge ambassadors, to keep badges alive as an issuer. Same is for the learners. If we want to work with badges, learners must see the potential of it. And they only see the potential of it if we tell them what's the value of badges. And the example in this line, which we developed, is that they can work, for example, at this company where they can print a concrete building somewhere. So this guy of 14 years old, he can, if he wants, someday he can go for an internship there and start printing his own building. That's motivating for the learner, right? So they have to see value in it, otherwise it's not going to happen. And the last thing where we think we have to solve some problems is existing policies and systems in schools, but also in a lot of industries. You already got a lot of software systems and all kind of certifying systems or certified training programs or whatever. And if you have to, when you start with badges, you have to somehow make a connection with these existing infrastructures of automated systems. Otherwise, you're always finding or implementing a new path or a new working method, which is only going to be a burden for a lot of people. So I think that's it should be incorporated in the normal way of working for people working in schools or working in these industries. So we have some training or sometimes connecting systems together. So it makes it working with it some easier. That's the main problem with existing policies and systems. So this is in short what our next challenges are and how we are thinking about the near future. And for us as Talent Campus and myself, what we mainly see and want to make happen is that we have a learning landscape where not only in school, but also at the museum, at music schools, or the sport clubs, we have that everywhere you are and everywhere where you learn, you can earn a badge. And these lines, where we just show you one can make that happen. But we have a lot of work to do. And so I hope other initiatives in the Netherlands or everywhere else in the world we can connect with and share our thoughts and make this landscape much bigger. So I think this is the main thing we wanted to tell. So I think if there are any questions, we could answer them right now.
Okay, thank you, Martin and Richard. Very, very interesting. I will now unmute everyone so you are able to ask any questions.
Okay.
So any questions, anyone? Well, I could start with the badge system that you have created, that you just showed us. Is it that the people can apply as a badge application that you have, and set the requirements for the skills, and the people acquire the skills themselves and then they apply for the badge? Or is there some training included in the system?
Yeah, all these badges require some kind of training. If we start at the 3D printing operator at the top, this company is developing a own academy, and this academy is open for everybody who wants to learn how to 3D print a building. So when people, clients of him, buy a concrete printing robot, they can come to his academy and follow some partially online partly on-site training, and after filming, then they deserve this. They earn this badge, and that's for that's also for the all the badges and milestones we've created. There's I think in 90% of these badges are connected to some open source learning software, like for instance Moodle or OpenEdX or other software, and or get the badge kind of automated when they do some tests or they earn it with delivering some kind of assessment. But they're all connected to a learning program. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's good to know that we're also developing with another company, developing badges for the 21st century skills, as we call them in the Netherlands. So mainly soft skills. Of course, Mozilla has his own rubric developed for that, and I think what we try to do is to use these rubrics or other kind of rubrics and see how we can connect badges to this kind of program. And this, of course, is a bit difficult to assess because, well, you can't really assess these kind of skills via a simple test. So we have to do something with observing people or do something else with that. But that's another challenge we are working on at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions?
No questions yet.
Okay, I have one more. It was very, very interesting, the idea that you are trying to keep the young people in the area somehow. Is it like creating jobs is the main aim that you have, or do you have any other kind of ideas that you could?
Yeah, of course we want to. Aside from the jobs we would like to offer to them, is also becoming an attractive region to live in and to work in. If we could manage and make this a real learning region, of course that has an influence on living here and working here. I hope it gives a lot of people a lot of chances to on a job or to learn something which you really like, and to make their talent visible for a lot of parties, not only the parties in our region, but also outside of that. But so I think it's maybe more important for us to realize some ecosystem where learning is the most important thing of your life, and it's a normal thing of your life. So I hope that answers your question. Okay,
yeah, thank you. There's another question saying here that I'm curious about the other rubrics for 21st century skills, media, digital literacy, soft skills that you mentioned. Can you provide links, please?
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. I can, after this call, I can gather some of these. In the Netherlands we have some parties and I think they're only in Dutch, but I check on them, and I've got some international rubrics as well. So sure, I can send the links to them to you, Mina, and if you can share them with the viewers, then that would be great.
Sure, or we can include it maybe in your presentation in the end.
Yeah, sure. That's
we
can do that. Yeah, no problem.
Sure. Anything else?
No questions. Yeah, well, I think it's the 21st century skills are, I think, maybe worldwide one of the difficult things we in assessing it. And so that's can imagine people are interested in that, because even if you have a rubric, the way you assess that is very difficult. And I'm also curious in how other initiatives are doing this. So if somebody else has the tip, well, you're always very welcome, because we're also searching in the best way to how to do this.
Yes. So I know that it's difficult for everyone to try to, the awareness about the badges is challenging in every country. For example, Finland is, with schools have quite well taken it up quite well these days. But what kind of efforts have you made to, increase awareness in Netherlands about the badges? How did you end up getting to this project in the first place?
Well, what we introduced in this BIM 5 project where we talked about, we introduced a form of certification. That was I think when we wrote the plan, it was about 2016 or 17, and there was this. We talked about certification because we thought it could be important to earn some kind of certification to make your learning path towards next to university or whatever more valuable, or more give it more context when you earn some kind of certification. After that, we came on the track of open badges, and that was in the first few months, it was very hard to convince people of the concept of open badges. And I think what we did is just we persevered, and we were convinced that this is a solution for a problem which is very hard to solve in other ways. So more and more meetings and presentations later, I think there are a lot of companies saw the potential, and maybe even because of its PR and marketing value. The examples of, for instance, IBM or Microsoft or SAP or other software companies are using this system also as a very effective marketing concept, because your company name, your logo, everything is published by everybody who earns a badge, and that triggered a lot of companies who we talked with, and that's a side where I think there's a lot of potential. So I think that's one of the ways we made a lot of companies enthusiastic about this, and it's still for a lot of companies experimenting with how are they going to implement it, and how do they develop these programs, and how do they issue badges. This is all kind of experimenting phase right now, but I think the value of the marketing the marketing value of this system is mainly the reason why they are so driven right now to get this done and make it happen in their own company. So for us, what we did is a lot of talks, a lot of presentations, connected companies to and make them kind of ambassadors for us. So in this BIM 5 project, for example, there's these schools where it was very hard to sell badges, and now everybody is talking about having earning badges, and badges is also almost a kind of normal way of earning rewarding skills. So 2 years ago, it was a threat to a lot of people in school. So we see changes slowly, but I think when you have a lot of time to let them see examples of how it's going to work and give attention to it, then finally they switch and they go along with you, I think, and see the potential of it. So it's a lot of time, an issue, and energy in it. That's the concept of getting it done, I think, finally.
Yes, I'm sure it was very impressive work you have done. Okay, so if there's no more questions, then I'll thank you, Martin and Richard. Very interesting project, and you've done a very good work. And thank you for speaking in our webinar and telling me us about your project.
Okay,
so
thank you very much.
And good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.